The other day, I made a video about me using Linux for Minecraft, and there was a lot of questions. So first, let me get down the specs and the basics of what I use to play Minecraft. The distro I use is Linux Mint. It's the most beginner-friendly distro that I ever experienced. I tried a couple, and Linux Mint seemed to be the first one that I picked. There's a thing called distro hopping, but we're not going to get into that. Next, these are my specs. But these are my current specs. This is 3060 GeForce NVIDIA graphics card. It's probably the best thing in my build. I have an Intel i5 10th generation 400F, which is, in terms of overall CPUs, it's a really, really low-end CPU. And then I have 32 gigabytes of DDR4 RAM. I am upgrading, but I know out there, there's specs worse than me. If you have worse specs, I personally think Linux is way better than Windows. And if you have bottom of the tier, it runs so much smoother than the current Windows 11. You won't be able to have a computer because every time I've tried to have Windows 11, especially on this computer, and I have mid-range specs, it doesn't work. I don't meet the requirements. So that's why I switched to Linux in the first place. There is a couple things I do want to talk about. There was a lot of comments being very annoyed and me saying my benefits. I made that short, basically just saying it's better. It's just better overall. It's way more light on your system, and it makes your computer have a breath of fresh air. Playing Minecraft on Linux is really not that hard. Once you have your mods figured out, and once you have everything figured out to your proper settings, it runs so much smoother than Windows have ever for Minecraft. Secondly, if you ever want to switch to Windows, the thing that sucks the most is there is a lot of Windows-specific apps that you can't have on Linux. You can't run anti-cheat. So that basically means anything on Epic Games, Rocket League, Fortnite. You can't play Fortnite. You can't play Valorant. I can't spell. You can't play League of Legends, League. You can't play anything with kernel level anti-cheat. Why is that? It's because Linux cares about your privacy, and it cares about, wow, should I really give this game this much access to everything in my computer and let them see if I have anti-cheat, which is not a bad thing, but I can't play games like Valorant or Fortnite or anything that is multiplayer for the most part that uses easy anti-cheat. There is a lot of games that you can play. You can play Arc Raiders, you can play Roblox, which is funny, and you can play genuinely a lot of stuff with Linux. It's just you can't play a couple of the big titles, especially the Epic Games ones. Now, I wouldn't be surprised in the future, especially with the new Steam machine and Steam OS, that you eventually can play these games. Linux is a growing thing. Right now, the market share of Linux is, I think, around 1%, and like 99%. No, here, I'll do this. Like 95% Windows, and then about 4% Mac OS. And the thing is it's a very small market share, and they really don't care much about the people that do run Linux. And the thing is with running Linux is there's a lot of problems since there's not one main distro for everything, because Windows itself is just Windows 10, maybe Windows 11. With Linux, there's thousands. It is a worthwhile switch, I think, because a lot of the problems that are things are usually solved, and there is a lot of customization. Let me go to my desktop. This is my desktop. I have things like custom bars. I have things where it sets up all my things. I have a calendar. I have this, and I completely made this setup myself. There's a lot of different like things that you can adjust, and most of the settings aren't crazy things where you have to type in the terminal. It's mostly things that you could just do, like desklet. Ooh, I have a desklet, or I can download more desklets. I could download different stuff like that. Linux is customizable. That's why I like it. Now, I want to talk about one major thing, the community of Linux. I would say about 60 to 70% of the community that runs Linux is very nice people, and they know what they're talking about, and they love people that come into the community, and they help those people that come into the community. And then you have the 30% that are honestly the worst part about switching to Linux. There's this thing in Linux where there is a very big, like, my distro is the best distro. And the thing is most people that run Linux are autistic like myself, and they're very certain on that. And usually it's the distro they first switch to, or something like Arch, where I use Arch, by the way. I don't use Arch, I use Linux Mint. And the community is very toxic. And they want to help. They want to help you, but the way they go about it doesn't really help anything with it. They get mad at you. And some people that aren't as knowledgeable as others, they get bombarded with comments talking about, well, this, well, that, well, blah, 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 whatever. And I feel like that's honestly a big hurdle that the community of Linux should get past. Is you got to understand that there is going to be absolute dumb guys that don't know how to run anything on Linux and shooing them away and saying, oh, the distro that you pick is horrible and you suck, and like they hate you because you picked Fedora over Kashi, or Bazite over Pop, or like Hannah Montana distro over basic Ubuntu, and they will correct you and they will be like angry. I feel like that's honestly a very big hurdle for if you do want widespread support and people in the community to actually get things like anti-cheat on video games, like to lessen so you can play like Fortnite or Valorant or League natively on Linux, is stop shooing away new people. It's hard enough to switch your OS on your computer from Windows to Linux. It's basically like speaking a different language instantly, and then getting bombarded with people saying like, you're stupid. Not this OS, not that OS. Everyone's gonna pick a shitty OS. Everyone has their OS. Nothing is perfect. I've had success with Mint, but obviously there's things that can improve on it. I haven't tried any other, but I'm very happy with my current OS. So stop shooing away people. I feel like that is such a redundant and stupid thing that the Linux community does. And honestly, as I made that video and having so many comments, and it was mostly a bunch of hate comments about like, oh, you're zooming too much or whatever. I am not a knowledgeable person. I just know that my computer runs better, same specs compared to Windows to Linux. My computer runs probably like 3 times better, and that's what I feel. That's what happened to me. And I am genuinely just trying to spread the positivity of it, because I truly think that I should own everything I have. I should own my data. I should own my computer, and I shouldn't use my specs to help Windows's secret privacy data collection. Like, I want to opt into that. I want to allow that to happen. And then I believe other people should do that, because like corporations shouldn't own my data. They shouldn't own my browsing data. They shouldn't own anything. And it's not that I'm hiding anything. I want to clarify that. But I believe that you should own anything and everything that you put out on the internet, and you get to choose the right to do that. I've been yapping for a while. Biggest points I want to wrap up on. I want everyone to own the things that they own and to pay what they pay. Don't buy subscriptions for computer parts. Don't buy subscriptions for things. And you should own everything that you put out in the world. It's just the hardest thing is like, now that everyone's pushing towards that, things like Windows and other subscription services, it's getting worse. So if you want to own everything you want to own, Linux is that option. You'll still give away data. It's bound to happen, but you get to own your shit. Anyways, I hope you guys like this video, and like and subscribe. Goodbye.